Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today we'll be talking about the quite renowned Fenyo, who has been requested for some time now, and in the past we've talked about Toyotaro and Young Gigi, Dragon Garo League, and predominantly how well they replicate Toriyama's art style, and in those videos it may have come off like replicating Toriyama's style as the be-all and end-all to what determines whether it's good Dragon Ball fan art or art in general, and honestly I don't really believe that. If anything, I like seeing different stylistic takes on Dragon Ball characters quite a lot actually, and I personally like doing the same with my own art, taking a lot of liberties. But regardless, with Fenyo, especially since he does official work, it is definitely a valued and noteworthy aspect and is really a massive draw to his work generally. But before that, the featured artist for this video is Joshires2689. The guy's just started drawing and has been grinding it out on Instagram, so go give him some support. And if you want a chance to feature in a video mainly aimed at smaller accounts, use this hashtag and tag me, preferably on Instagram, but Twitter is okay, I'm just not as active on there. Anyway, so let's now explore the art of Fenyo. So what I like most about Fenyo is that he is very adept in replicating Toriyama's style throughout the entirety of the original series, and often flicks back to these different styles from their respective arcs quite frequently. Like, I know Young Gigi predominantly carries the look of the Majin Buu arc in his work, and has flicked back to classic Dragon Ball, which I think looks great, or Dragon Garo Lee especially is quite good at replicating the stylistic notes from different arcs, such as in the reincarnation of Yamcha manga, we get to see that displayed quite well. But honestly, for me, Fenyo seems to be the most adept in this regard. For example, this front-on view of Goku captures that late Cell arc look and Buu arc look to Goku really well, with the large neck, the eyes, the smile. The chest is also merged together with somewhat the collarbone, and especially the face, which at this time in the series anyway was generally more wider and I guess somewhat fatter for the lack of a better word. But this was mostly due to the jawline and the side of the head being more rounded off at this time. For example, like when comparing Goku earlier in the series, like in the Frieza arc or Saiyan arc, where he had sort of a curved line going inwards to define the jawline, and not always, but quite often the side of the head was a sort of a similar thing. So you had a more rigid look, so to say, in comparison to Goku from the Buu arc. And Fenyo nails all these stylistic changes. And so in the end, you really have a piece that feels like it really is straight out of Toriyama's manga from the Buu arc. Or we can even go right back to the Red Ribbon Army arc with this piece of Bulma, where again, he is quite on point with these stylistic changes within this era. I mean, like the rounder look to the jawline, the eyes are near perfect, even down to like the shading in the iris, and the overall anatomy is softer in its style. The only main difference is the ears, which is how you can usually tell his work generally, like from Toriyama and other promo artists, and it is that the ears on his characters aren't really tucked in as much, you could say, and aren't drawn on so much of an angle. Now, that's not to say Toriyama's were always either, but from a general standpoint, there is a bit of a difference, and in this comparison, it's a good example of that. And also for this time period in Toriyama's work, generally the ears were not that small, but rather quite large, at least at this point in the series. Although it seems like around the Frieza arc onwards, they started to be somewhat smaller, especially in the Buu arc across the majority of characters. But I mean, it's a really minor note and isn't a negative. I just brought it up mainly because I found it interesting and it is a way to identify his work. And another example before we move on is from the Piccolo Jr. saga. So once again, he nails the look to this time period also perfectly. At this time, Toriyama's style in regards to anatomy and clothing was still quite rounded and loose, but like in the face and more so the jawline, it felt more sharper and angular. And even though you could say this is because some of the characters were like, you know, aging like Goku, it seems to be a consistent change among everyone, like even background characters. And I also just realized the guy who announces the preliminary rounds is the same dude from the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, so that's a cool little Easter egg there. But anyway, back to like what I was saying, his take on Goku is very accurate, although Bulma is also especially on point with that more refined look to the jawline and the head where the lines sort of curve inwards, and these two anchor points on the jawline is less rounded off, so to say. So I guess there is more of a triangular shape now to the head. And like I said, this goes for a lot of the cast in general. Although of course with minor exceptions here and there within Toriyama's panels, he might have had still a round touch to some characters, especially for close-ups here and there, but overall they were becoming more angular, so to say, in the faces. But like once again, this shows a clear eye to even the smallest details. Although my one minor nitpick with Goku is just that the ears need to come in a little bit, and like this, and a slight bit more of a bump to the hair. And there we go. But it's amazing because it's not even just Toriyama style he is efficient at. For example, with the fighter stamps he did, he channeled honestly both Tadayoshi Yamamura's old and newer style, all kind of like a one picture. So with Yamamura's newer style, you can see it mainly with like the colors, the more blocky hair with a lot of lines in there, and the highlights, which of course is a feature that existed in Yamamura's old work, but is a reoccurring stylistic take that features almost always in his modern work. Then like back to old Yamamura, you have more of the defined nose, the slanted eyes. The style of shading isn't as sharp and has similar shapes to his older work, and like with the shading defining the areas of the face like the cheek rather than curving inwards. So the artwork is more in line with the modern look of the series, but still carries over a lot of the great stylistic notes from Z. So the designs still carry a sense of being familiar and possibly somewhat nostalgic at the same time. And it's sort of how I feel about some of Nikatsuru's newer work, of getting the balance between both old and new. And he was actually even able to channel some of Shintani's style with the cards he drew for the Dragon Ball Super card game, with the color palette and the hair, you know, etc, etc. It's actually insane how he can replicate so many different art styles. Like he also posted up a couple of posters he did, I guess, just for fan art, not for anything official from what I know. But I mean, like in all seriousness, this poster, like with not only his amazing style, but the colors are 100% perfect to like the time period, and the rough texture the poster has. Just overall, it looks like it was made, you know, right back in the day. All this one of Gogeta and Pikkon, I mean, it looks like a screenshot just straight back from Fusion Reborn. And I also will note that he especially nailed the background, which carries a sort of a traditional look also. But yeah, honestly, it'd be really great to see him do some more posters like this. But personally, the aspect I like most about his work is how he draws these sort of behind the scenes of something that happened in the story, like King Yama overpowering Raditz, showing Goku when he grabbed Master Roshi's sunglasses, or Vegeta taking out those alien creatures we see him later eating when he is first introduced. And since his style is so close to Toriyama's, it's like these were extra manga pages that Toriyama left out or something, you know. It's really cool. And if you are into what if moments, Fenyo delivers there as well. What if Vegeta took out Deborah, or what if King Piccolo regenerated, and my personal favorite, Raditz chilling with his nephew. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but when it comes down to the fundamentals, I won't go through all of them, but like anatomy and proportions, generally from what I have seen, he is quite on point. When it comes to perspective, it is also fine. He seems to employ a lot of one-point perspective in his work, but more so for his fan art anyway, which is done well again. Of course, certainly not the hardest form of perspective to master, but regardless, I thought I should still mention it. And when it comes to form, again, great, no real issues there. Although when it comes to poses, it can be somewhat conservative in a lot of the fan art he posts on Instagram. Generally, it isn't anything too dynamic. However, when it comes to his official artwork for Dragon Ball Legends, he really doesn't hold back, and he pulls out a lot of great angles and poses, such as this one of Gogeta just charging up at the camera with some excellent foreshortening here. Also great expression, holds a lot of intensity. The characters don't feel lifeless or static by any means, such as this piece of Chi-Ji here. I really like the gesture he has gone for. Really great work. Although keep in mind, from my knowledge, he doesn't color these, so that is done by someone else, but whoever the colorist is, he is exceptionally talented as well. It really is a unique style that feels fresh and new, and when paired together with Fenyo, I mean, it's just heaven. And come to think of it, I remember last year sometime I was considering doing a video just on Dragon Ball Legends art style, because it was something quite different and way out there compared to a lot of modern Dragon Ball. But yeah, I guess with that final point, those are my thoughts on Fenyo. It seems he can master any style of Dragon Ball, whether Toriyama's or Shintani's. He really is a very skilled artist for sure, and he isn't just good at imitating others' art styles. As I just showed with his Legends art, he is very adept in coming up with his own and unique poses himself, and is also able to tell fun little stories within his work, which, as I said, is personally one of my favorite aspects to his work. And I really look forward to him doing more promo work. I only wish he came into the series sooner. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. And with that final note, I'll see you in the next video.